Karyn Bryant for MMA H.E.A.T. I'm here with John Wayne Parr, who is a Muay Thai legend. You've kickboxed, you've boxed, you've dabbled in a lot of martial arts. And the reason I want to talk to you today is because George St-Pierre specifically handpicked you to come and train with him, right, as one of his training partners. So how did that go down? How did you even get to meet GSP?
I was lucky enough to do a few seminars in Canada, and then the opportunity came to go to TriStar just for the day. And then happened to be Muay Thai sparring day. And then, would you like an opportunity to spar with George? And I was so starstruck. I was really beside myself. And then we touched gloves and the round started. And then I did really, really well against him. And it was enough for him to invite me back a few months later and said, "Oh, can you come and help me for my camp for the Hendricks fight?" So I spent 2 weeks in Montreal and in New York, and it was great just to not just respect him as a world champion, but as a person, he's just a really genuine, humblest guy you ever meet.
So what is that like, though, bowing in against GSP? Because, like you said, I mean, you're a little bit starstruck, but we also know that you're so good. So was there any sense of you going, I don't want to beat this guy up, but I also want to make sure I put in a good showing?
When he invited me back the second time, the fight with Hendrick was already planned, so now it was time for business. So I started changing my stance to southpaw. I tried to become Johnny. I tried to use the left hand a lot more. I tried to implement all these skills and just become Johnny. So there'd be no surprise.
Grow a beard?
A very patchy one. And then holding pads, we're just trying to do a little bit different things with trying to generate more power out each shot and try and bring that knockout edge back, trying to hit with more authority. So when he does hit Johnny, that he gets his attention from the very first punch all the way through. So I'm really hoping to, I'll hope for George's sake that he can maybe get the knockout too and get the world's respect that he deserves.
Well, let's talk about that, because people who don't like GSP love to say he can't finish anything. You know, they say that kind of stuff. And you're just talking about bringing back the knockout power. We know he can be very effective with the jab. But what do you think happened? Do you think he just was able to win in other ways and didn't need to use the stand-up fighting, the boxing element as much? What do you think happened?
I think the caliber of fighters that he's facing these days, if you're the Diaz's or the Condons, you don't want to get knocked out. You're going to do everything in your power. You've worked for the last 10 years to get this opportunity, and no matter how bad you get punched up, you're not going to stop and lay down and let George win. You want the belt, you want the fame, you want the glory, the money. So no matter, you'd rather die before getting beaten. So it's not a case that George can't do it. It's the case that the other guys don't want to give up. Mm-hmm. That's what I sincerely believe anyway.
Interesting. So what do you think will happen with Johnny based on what you've seen in there? I mean, the thing that's difficult to understand for a fan of George St-Pierre is how he can keep going at this level for so long. And Dana has spoken about how he's the most professional fighter. He wishes every fighter on the roster was like George. But those of us watching sit there and think, how can he keep up that elite level for so long? Do you still believe he's as hungry and as fired up this long into his career?
100%.
Yeah.
He's just like myself. He's just got that competition edge there. He doesn't want to lose. He wants to stay king of the mountain for as long as possible. And being a martial artist too, you never want to stop striving to be the best. You never want to stop learning. And each fight's a new challenge, and Johnny brings so many different challenges compared to everybody else. With his wrestling, it's going to be a whole new ball game at this caliber. And plus Johnny's left hand, that's going to be something that George has never faced before. So I really believe this is going to bring the best out of the GSP that we've ever seen, because he has to be on his game, otherwise he might lose, and like he's done in his interviews, that's detrimental. He'd rather lose a limb than lose. So I'm cheering for him so hard. I really want him to win so bad.
He really is a spectacular champion, obviously. Was there anything that you found out, though, when you were in there mixing it up with him that you didn't even understand just having seen him? Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes you get in there with somebody and you go, wow, this guy's stronger than I ever thought, or more agile, more this or that. I mean, we already know that George is such a complete fighter, but was there anything that surprised you when you were actually in there trading with him?
No, because I was lucky that we were only doing Muay Thai. So
get taken down or anything?
So he was in my world. So it was good that I was actually to help him apply some of my skills to his set. And then when he wasn't training Muay Thai, I got to watch him work with John Wayne Parr in New York, and oh my God, that was just the complete most humbling experience I've ever seen. Those two guys working together is just watching the master and the apprentice. It was from that respect, as a Muay Thai fighter, appreciating the ground it blew my socks off. But from the Muay Thai aspect, I really think hopefully George has picked up a few more tricks and can do damage.
Well, because it's something I'm just kind of thinking back. I don't really ever picture in my head George in a Muay Thai plum, doing the knee. I mean, is that something that you worked on with him, kind of working closer in fighter and working in the plum?
More so the punching power and the kicking power and fighting a southpaw. I fought multiple southpaws in Thailand. You can't stand in front of him, especially Johnny's left hand. So we're working angles, and then George's famous jab, it's not going to work against the southpaw either, because his left hand's going to be in the way of the jab, so he's not going to land flush anymore. So now we've got to change the game completely, where we're going to have to rely more on other things to try and throw Johnny off. So I hopefully there's going to be lots of surprises on Saturday night. I really believe that if things go to plan and the planets are aligned, it's going to be very awesome.
You have such a twinkle. I don't know if you guys can see it. You can tell he's like, yeah, we're up to something in there. That's just, it's going to be it's funny because everybody who is pro Johnny thinks that, Johnny's got all the skills to take him down. And you hear George say, this is the toughest test I've ever faced. And, we hear fighters say that, every fight sometimes. But do you feel that way? I mean, when you assess Johnny's skill level, and do you really think that that's the most challenging person George will have faced?
Yes and no. I think with the Koscheck fight, I thought Koscheck won that, and what George did, the Koscheck was pretty much an annihilation every round, but Koscheck manhandled Hendricks on the floor and took him down multiple times. I think the hype is fantastic. I think a lot of people are interested in this fight, but I think once the first bell rings, you'll see the greatest GSP you've ever seen. And again, I think he will dominate. I think once it gets past the first and second round, and it gets into the championship rounds, the 3, 4s, and 5s, and GSP's pressure. No one can maintain that pressure for 5 rounds like George can, and he's going to take him into deep water. Even if Johnny does happen to stuff a few of the takedowns, George will just keep applying, and just like Kane versus Dos Santos, is just that one of those things where if you're not 100%, he's just going to tear you to shreds. So,
and the conditioning for George is always top notch.
Yeah, he's one of these guys that just can't sit still. I think he's got OCD. He's got to be doing something in the gym. When I happened to spend the time with him, on a personal note, he's the only person I know that can eat a 3-course meal and then say, okay, let's go do pads. I was so full I'd have to undo my top button, and yet George was like, okay, I'm ready to go do 5 rounds of the hardest pads you've ever given me. And it's like anyone else would be vomit and be sick, but that's his mentality. He can just turn on at a flick of a switch. He's so if John, I believe Johnny's. I think he's going to do it really tough because he's still looking massive. Yeah. I think he's got a lot of weight to cut, and if he's left it to the last minute and just going to rely on that 24 hours to recover, and George has done it over a slow period, that's going to pay dividends come fight time as well. So there's a lot of factors in George's favour that are going to work against Johnny.
I want to talk about the food because on Facebook you posted several meal pictures and it looks like you guys ate quite heartily. Yeah? Got a big appetite up there?
I've learned that George is a Viking. He likes meat wrapped in meat, dripped in meat sauce, and he's not a vegetarian. Every animal on the planet should be afraid when George walks into a restaurant. He's got an amazing appetite. But he told me as well, considering the superstar he is, he said he doesn't want to have multiple gold chains. He doesn't want to own a Ferrari. He just wants to eat like a king. He said, I've got the money now. Why can't I just eat in nice restaurants and eat fine dine? And so to that I give him lots of credit because what a stud.
Did you ever train with Rory in the mix as well?
I trained with Rory. I think we sparred twice in the 2 times that I was there. Rory's a completely different fighter. fighter, different stance, different way of attacking, different strategies. Completely different. More of a wrestler than a striker. But again, full respect to him. He's another champion that I would not like to go on the ground with him. Even though he's stand-up, he does majority of his winning by the stand-up. I think his main thing is on the ground because down there, he's from a Muay Thai fighter understanding of the wrestling. I really appreciate what those guys do.
Well, certainly there's a lot of talk about the fact that maybe one day they would fight each other. You know, if George wins, on Saturday night, if Rory wins, it's inevitable that perhaps he could be there. I'm just kind of curious, having been inside the camp. Yeah, Rory says it'll never happen, but what do you think?
No, well, that was a surprising thing because one of the first or second nights I was in Canada, the UFC was on TV, and I went to George's house and I sat on the couch with Rory and George and we watched the TV, and then George has a ping pong table in his lounge room and they're playing ping pong games, and then
Who won?
I think George.
Yes.
I think George. But even they were talking about the fight that Roy just had, and
With Jake Ellenberger, probably?
yes, and there was nothing but praise. It was that they're seriously like big and little brother. There's so much camaraderie there. They're really close, so there's no chance that they're going to fight. And George has also said why. He's showing me stuff. I've shown him stuff. Why are we going to use each other's secrets against each other? We're too tight. So and good on him too. If you sometimes fighting is fun, but when it's against your friends, you don't want to jeopardize your friendship when you're that close. It's not worth it.
And maybe you do or don't know if George has really spoken about retirement, but do you think that's something that is in his near future? Do you get a sense that maybe he's proven everything he needs to prove, and why does he want to keep going? Though you did say he's a martial artist who is so competitive, so I'm just curious what your thoughts are and what you perceive.
I think he's just a little tired of the fans. One always talking about the not finishing fights. He does so well to dominate people, and then just to be criticised the whole time. And also the fact of being called a steroid cheat. I was at the meeting where he was willing to pay $20,000 out of his own money, out of the VADA, and just to prove that he wasn't clean. And then the media jumped on him as if to say that he was sponsored by them and he was doing this and he's trying to cover up stuff, and he's like, that's $20,000 of my money to prove that I'm not. Yeah, it's still backlashed on him. So it doesn't matter what he seems to do to try and clear his name. It always backfires. So I think as a martial artist, as a fighter, he wants to go there forever. But sometimes there's the criticism. It just wears you down.
Yeah. Well, speaking of fighting, I obviously introduced you as a legendary Muay Thai fighter, and you had retired for a little while yourself. Then you came back to it. You just won a fight the other day. What's your deal? What's your future? At
this stage, I've had 117 Muay Thai fights.
How many did you win?
I've won 87. I've won 10 world titles. I've got a nice house and a couple of cars. I'm looking after my family.
Do you have another baby on the way, don't you?
I have another little baby on the way, so everything's really good. Muay Thai has been very nice to me. It's as much as I retired for 6 months, but again, I miss the rush. I miss the crowd. I miss the fans. I miss the adrenaline. I miss the knockouts. There's no matter. You can't bottle that feeling of having someone unconscious, and then I know it sounds evil, but at the same
it doesn't sound evil.
but at the same time, it's the.
I would love to knock somebody out. Believe me, I would love to.
But it's the greatest rush that you could, as a professional sports person. That's the ultimate. That's the slam dunk. That's the slam dunk of fighting.
It's a grand slam home run. It's all those things together.
So I couldn't give it away just yet. So I'm going to keep going until my body says no more, because it's too much awesomeness. Yeah.
Nice. And we should plug away. I've been to your gym when I went down to Australia last year for the UFC, but this is your gym, and where can people go? Because you're there all the time, right? People can train with you? Yes,
I'm teaching classes twice a day with my wife Angela. She's American as well. So we've got the gym, I've got fighters, we've got do health fitness. Very family orientated in Burleigh Heads in Australia. So if you want to come down and do some training, more than happy to help you with your striking.
Nice. Well, I wish I could come train with you. I would love that. But I do want to say thank you for taking the time to talk with us today, and best of luck. I know you're so excited, and I know that you know different stuff about George that we don't know, but have fun on Saturday. Try not to get too tense.
Yes, thank you. It's been a long 20-hour flight for just 3 nights to come and watch George, but I'm so excited to be here, and thank you very much for the interview.
Oh, and lastly, actually, people can see you walking out with Goyito, right?
Yes, I've been asked to help walk him to the scales on at the weigh-in tomorrow. tomorrow. So that's another little buzz. That's this trip just keeps getting better and better. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And if you play blackjack, go right now. Go. You're lucky. Thanks.